Welcome and hello. This is a support video in HEC ResSim, and I was recently sent a ResSim model that experienced this error message right here. Simulation start date must be after lookback date. Now, as you see, the start date, November 6th of 2025, is actually after the lookback date. So what's going on here? I'll go ahead and get the model running in this video. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got ResSim up. I'm using version 3.3. I'm not sure if that matters or not, but I'm going to go up to File and then open the watershed and then go ahead and navigate to that WKSP file, which is right here, and then click Open. What I need to do first is switch my module to something like Watershed Setup. So here is the Watershed Setup with a study configuration. I'm going to go ahead and edit, allow editing right now so I don't forget. Now let's go ahead and load in the network. So I'm going to change the model to Reservoir Network, and then yes. I think the only change was that it allows editing. Hold on a second. Watershed setup, Reservoir Network. Okay, here we go. Now I have my network menu item up here. I'm going to go Network and then open this network net01. It's the only one to choose, and then click Open and then save. All right, so here is the network. I have one reservoir. I've got a junction up here on the main stem and then a tributary up here with another junction. Both of these junctions at the top of the reaches are receiving local inflow of 500 cubic meters per second. This is in metric. And then there's a confluence right down here at the junction 5 and then a downstream reach below that. Now, there were a few problems with this model before I could get it running. So I'm going to go ahead and just walk through the model and then also walk through the updates that I made. So maybe this is a problem with your model as well. If not, it's at least something to check. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and look at the reservoir. I'm going to go right click, edit reservoir properties, and then I'm going to look at the pool data right here. And I notice that we do not have area defined. I can't remember if that's necessary or not. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in the area. So here is an Excel file. Here is the original elevation storage area, and then this is what I'm going to change it to. So I'm going to preserve the same elevation and peak storage, but I'm going to change that first row to just be zeros all the way across, and then include the area of 0 and 6400 for my minimum and maximum area. Okay, so let's just change that to a 0, that to a 0, and then 6400. That assumes a linear geometry. So I'll go ahead and click apply. That's the only change that I made to the reservoir to get this working. If you want to check out the dam, it has a single controlled outlet right here. Also, the pool has operations. It has a sample operation set right here, and then 3 different zones. Conservation is the guide curve, and that's 75 meters. So that's where we're going to try to keep that water surface elevation there for the entire year. Okay, next we're going to go over to the simulation module. So let's go ahead and go network, save, and then module, simulation. Now, right now, there's no simulations, and the user who sent me this may or may not have actually had simulations saved properly. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and create my own simulation. So simulation, new. I'm going to call this sim1. And then for the start date, look back date, and end date, this is critical because here is the error message. And the reason I'm not going to be using these exact same dates is because the input data for the local inflows is different. So that's something else that I should probably mention. Make sure that your simulation date time aligns up with the date time data that's associated with your junction inflows, your local inflows. So let me go ahead and put a pause on this. Actually, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go back to that network tab, reservoir network. Oops, I got to click on the cursor, right click, edit junction properties. This junction 4 here is the upstream node of the main channel. It has a local flow called main inflow. And then junction 5 here, right click, edit junction properties. It has a local inflow called trib inflow, factor of 1. So let's go ahead and check out the alternative next. Reservoir network, alternative, edit. The alternative here is called flow through. Here's the run control. Time step is 1 day. Nothing, no problems there. Operations, it uses that sample operation set. And then for the look back period, this also looks fine. We're starting off the reservoir at 75 meters with a constant release of 500 CMS. And now the time series data. Both of these junctions are using the exact same 500 CMS constant flow for the entire simulation. However, the date range on this time series data set is back in 2023, 2024, not 2025, 2026. So let's go ahead and investigate this. I'm going to open up DSS View and then File, Open. I'm going to navigate to that directory. Here's my project directory. Here is the shared directory, and here is the DSS file. All right, let me go ahead and open up the path. And then what we're seeing here is a constant, well, it says 17,657 CFS, but this is the same as 500 cubic meters per second. So we can just go ahead and look at the plot right here. It's 500 cubic meters per second if you do the math. But as you notice, the date range is from the end of October 2023 to the end of March 2024. All right, so let me open up that table once again. The first record is right here. So the first day, I should say, of November 2023. And then it goes to the last day of March 2024. All right, with that in mind, now we can set up our simulation data, our simulation time range. And while I'm here, I'm going to also update this path because I'm taking this data from someone else and loading this program into my computer for the first time. So it's probably best practices just to reset the DSS path for all of my time series data. So I'm going to go ahead and move this window over here for the time being. Select the first record here, which is the main inflow. Click on Select DSS Path. And now this is where I want to click on my path. This is the constant 500 CMS, and then set path name. Same thing here for the trib flow, and then click set path name. That DSS file has been updated. That looks good. I'm going to go up to alternative, save, and then I can go ahead and close this dialog box. For the module, I'm going to switch it to simulation, and then as before, let's see. Okay, so I never saved that first simulation. Let's just go and do simulation new. I'll call it sim1. I'm going to be using the exact same day of month and month, but just changing the year from 2025 to 2023, and also from 2026 to 2024. This end date is 31 March, and then the time of day is 2400 hours. So I'll use that same time for all three here. And then lastly, I want to select this alternative called flow through. That looks good. It's our only alternative, and okay. All right, here is the simulation. I'm going to go up to simulation and then save. Let's go ahead and click the run button. And now I get this error message called failed to initialize element CP1. So that got me thinking, what's going on with CP1? It looks like there's a problem with this junction right here. This is CP1. It's the upstream junction that feeds into the reservoir pool. All right, so let's go to the reservoir network. Here's CP1. And then what I also noticed is if I go to the watershed setup, we don't have a computation point associated with that CP4, or that, sorry, the junction 4. This junction was created outside of the configuration. And that's fine, but to minimize any confusion and to just get the model running, what I'm going to do is remove the reach and the junction 4, and then just assign that upstream inflow to CP1 instead of junction 4. All right, so to do that, I'll click on the arrow tool and then right click, delete the reach. Okay. And then I'm also going to delete this junction. Boom. Now I'm going to edit the junction CP1. I'm in the reservoir network module. So edit junction properties. I'm going to give this the name inflow CP1, and then it'll have a factor of 1. That is the local flow. Apply. Okay. So I'm with network, save. Now for the alternative, I want to assign that flow, which is right here. So select the path, set path name, and then close that. And then let's do the same thing here for junction 5, just to be safe. Here's the path, set path name, and then close that. All right, alternative, save, close the alternative. Now I'm going to go back to the simulation module, create a new simulation using the revised network, and then see if it runs. All right, so simulation, new. This time I'm going to call it sim2. I'm going to use all the same data as before. So we have the look back will start on the beginning of November. The simulation will begin at November 6th, and then the end date will be 31 March 2024. And then again, 2400 hours is what I'll use for the time. We're going to use this flow through alternative once again. Click OK. Sim2 is now ready to run. So let's go ahead and click compute. And then boom, it looks like we have a working model. Real quick, let's just go ahead and make sure that we have data. So I'm going to right click on the reservoir, click on plot, and here we have what we expect to see for a very basic flow through model where we have a constant elevation held at 75 meters, a constant release of 500 cubic meters per second. We should have the same flow through this reach as well, so 500 CMS. And then downstream of the confluence, we should have 1000 CMS, which is right here, 1000 cubic meters per second. All right, well, that was it for this support video. What we did was import a project from someone who just sent me their project files via zip file in an email, and then figured out why it wasn't working. This was the original error message, which I myself did not encounter, but I think there was a problem with making sure that the inflow data dates were aligned with the simulation dates. That was definitely one of the problems, as well as a couple other issues that I addressed.